What's up, y'all, and welcome back to my channel. I am Diana and I'm the founder of Money Boss Mama, and recently I've been getting a lot of requests to do a video basically on a recession proof budget. So that's kind of what we are going to talk about today. Now, I am not going to hold you, sis. I'm gonna keep it a buck. I don't feel like there is such a thing as a recession proof budget, but I do recommend focusing on maintaining the progress that you've made right now versus trying to go after your goals. And so that is what I'm going to break down in this video, how I am doing it and giving you some tips on how you can do it as well. Okay, look, so coming from me, you know it's bad because I'm a very goal-oriented person. Like, if I have a vision, it's all or nothing. I'm going hard towards that vision. But inflation is at a record high, and we are still in the midst of a pandemic, like the same pandemic we've been in for over 2 years. And I was recently reading an article that said that in May, inflation went up to 8.6%. And so obviously it has not reached its peak, and honestly I don't think anyone can really estimate when it will, which is scary, but that means that we really don't know what we're walking into. And so the safest thing right now to do is to maintain or focus on maintaining the progress that you've made up to this point and shifting from being goal oriented. So yes, that means we are not going to be go-getters because that's too much of a risk right now, especially if you are like me and you are a single mom. So how do we maintain the progress that we've made? It's going to be through saving money. And now I recently did a video all about how much you should have set back in your emergency fund because there's some back and forth over that. But basically, your emergency fund, or the amount that you need to save, is going to depend on your income, number one, your expenses, as well as your liabilities. So if you have an old clunker like me that may break down at any time, then obviously you're going to need to put more back in your emergency fund just to help you cover those upcoming costs or what could be an upcoming cost. I say that saving money is the safest thing to do right now because this is going to be your safety net. Your savings or your emergency fund is there to CYA, and it kind of helps you keep up with the rising costs because it stands in the gap. And this way you have the funds to pull from versus running up your credit card, taking out a personal loan, basically going into more debt and disrupting the progress that you've made so far. And recently I went to Walgreens to buy some essentials, and after running a total of $78, so damn near $100 because I like to round, I went back to my budget again to readjust, and basically I decreased my investments to beef up my emergency fund. So I had my emergency fund at 8 months once upon a time, but since everything has increased, it has dropped to about 6 months. So now my goal is to focus on adding an additional $8,000 to this emergency fund just to help offset everything that's going on right now. So let's talk a little bit about why I decreased my investments, because I know that this probably sounds a bit shocking to certain people because I am in the personal finance community, but girl, stocks are plummeting. And I know it's very popular to say, you know, this is the perfect time to go out and buy stocks or stock up on investments because they're technically quote unquote on sale. But once again, if you are like me, you are head of household, you're a single parent, you have children to take care of, you probably do not give a rat's ass about stocks being on sale because you have to take care of your home right now. Now, the earnings that I may make 10 plus years out from now, that's not going to matter if I cannot feed my family and I lose the roof over our heads, right? So right now, the smartest decision for me is to pull back on the investments. I am still investing, just not as heavily, in order to fund my emergency fund because that is easily accessible. With investments, my strategy is long term, kind of like buy and hold. hold it and sit on it for a long time, but that's not going to feed me, and that's not going to help me take care of my family right now. And right now is what I'm needing to focus on. So when it comes to you guys going back and readjusting your budgets and establishing your emergency fund amounts, I really want you to take into consideration things like possible layoffs. So I know this is something we don't really like to think about, but our jobs are not secure, especially during these times. And companies, they are going to be looking for ways to cut costs. And unfortunately, that includes getting rid of certain positions. I also want you to take into consideration the fact that our pay is stagnant. So our pay is the same, but expenses are increasing. So basically we are taking a pay cut. And also take into consideration your high interest debts, because those debts are still going to require a minimum payment, and you don't want to go and default on these specific debts because interest is going to really eat you alive. Another thing that I have been doing that has been really helping my budget is purging. So I have been purging my home, and I've also been purging my mind of things that I want but don't necessarily need. And one thing that I did during my debt-free journey was basically sell everything that was just sitting collecting dust in my home, but it wasn't really valuable to me. And I have been selling things on Mercari again. So me and my daughter have been putting up things for sale, and we've made a couple of sales. So the goal is to right now give her a small portion of the earnings and then put the rest back in my emergency fund. And I'm kind of sad to say, like, there have been things that I have been sitting on that has been, it needed to go, like an $800 wig. Don't jump me, don't fight me. I don't know what I was thinking during that time, but I bought an $800 wig, Kendra's Boutique. So if you know, you know, quality. But I don't like wearing wigs, and I don't wear the wig. And I've been just telling myself, you know, keep it. I may need it one day. You know what we do to justify why we should keep things, but there's no reason for me to be sitting on an $800 wig. And sis, you will be surprised the pile of dough that you have when you go through and clean up your space and really separate the things that you don't really like or don't really have a purpose in your life and start selling it online. And in regards to my mindset, I have been focused on not making big purchases, especially whenever I'm feeling emotional or impulsive. You guys know I have said this plenty of times that I am an emotional spender. I used to be a shopaholic at the mall all the time, and right now I'm feeling really squeezed and really overwhelmed with the costs increasing. And I know that I tend to self-soothe through eating, and I need to make sure that I'm not eating up all the extra money that I have in my budget. And so I really had to sit back and readjust and reevaluate my values in life. Like the thing that I put up not too long ago where I really wanted to move downtown with lots of windows, but I had to kind of let that vision go for a little while because it's not the best decision or best move to make right now. And I just had to accept the fact that I'm going to have to stay in this little tiny dark apartment just for a little while longer until everything kind of like calms down. But this is something that I teach in my spending challenge. It's a 7-day spending challenge where we are going to go from emotional to controlled. So if you are someone that blows through your money because you're very impulsive and very emotional, then this is exactly for you. I have a lot of emotional spenders in my community, and I'm just giving you all the tips and tools that I have used to be able to pay off debt and establish an emergency fund, even though I am an emotional spender. But I really hope that this video was super helpful for you all. Leave down in the comments how you are adjusting your budget to inflation, and I will catch you all in the next one.